I used to think I understood the difference between loneliness and simply being alone, until life decided to stage a live-action illustration. My parents were killed in a car wreck on a rural highway when I was 22. Even before that, we rarely saw each other, two adults locked inside an endless overtime loop to cover a mortgage and my grandmother's medical bills. After the crash, all that was left were a few photos in cloud storage and the acrid smell of words never spoken. Calling myself an orphan would be cheeky. I already had an adult passport, student debt, and a couple of college friends. But the sense of home, the Saturday morning smell of fresh bread, the certainty that somewhere a lamp was glowing just for me, all of it vanished. One-way ticket, no returns. I stopped carrying my phone in my pocket, turned off notifications. No one called anyway. That's when Josh from the logistics company stepped in. "Dude, you've got Russian roots, right? Come to a party. I'll introduce you to a girl. Her great-granddad's from Minneapolis." It was such an obvious shared heritage stunt that I went mostly out of curiosity. The bar smelled like warm pretzels and orange wheat beer. Josh kept repeating, "Trust me, she's one of those people who make you believe again." She really was one of those. Emily Valentine, senior year at a nursing college, spark white sneakers, eyes that played their own summer playlist. She smiled like our conversation had already been running for an hour, and the world fast-forwarded the reel. We laugh while sitting on her dorm room floor filming my attempts to skateboard. We argue over who has to go grab tacos. We hold hands in the parking lot, overlooking the ocean. But the crucial moment came the night Emily invited me to dinner with her parents. Mr. Richards, big guy, 3 times my age, shook my hand so firmly it knocked the breath out of me. "Son, welcome to the chaos." Mrs. Richards spent 5 minutes wrestling with my name on her pie crust. "Brian? Brian, we'll get it, honey." That night I sat at a true family table for the first time in years. Maybe not my table, but a real one. Looking back, I fell in love not only with their daughter, but with their house itself. Warm, a bit noisy, refrigerator plastered with National Park magnets, a chore chart for washing dishes pinned to the wall, an enclave where people hugged for no reason. Emily and I rented a small apartment 5 miles from her parents, in a neighborhood where kids sold lemonade on weekends. The company offered me a junior manager slot, spreadsheets galore, late-night calls to Arizona warehouses, and a salary big enough to buy a new couch and stash away cash for the dream car. I'd open the classifieds for used Ford Mustangs and picture the ring that would look right on her finger if I postponed the car a bit. Those thoughts followed me for almost a year, until one night I woke to a strange glow. Emily's phone lay beside me, screen pulsing with messages. She slept with her hand on my shoulder, our nightly signature that we were on the same team. I never snooped, but the screen flashed again, and nervous curiosity crushed etiquette. Messages from Grace and Jim. Flame emojis. "When do we meet?" Photos of her laughing in some guy's arms by the weight racks. Morning found me on the bed's edge searching for words that didn't exist. Emily huddled in the blanket, lips trembling. "Look, it's nothing. Just flirting." Her eyes told the truth before her mouth did. I asked to see the chat. One swipe revealed a 3-month timeline. After yoga, meetups, girls' weekend getaways, cheap motel bookings along I-25. First, she cried. Then came the accusations. I'd buried myself in work. I'd turned love into an income expense table. She needed to feel the fire. I stared at the same hands that pretended to cradle my heart every night and wondered how to silence the urge to scream loud enough to break walls. She begged, "Please don't tell my parents. Dad'll kill me." I thought about Mrs. Richards slipping an extra slice of pie onto my plate. "You're too skinny." About Mr. Richards helping me pick a tie for my first interview. About how many times they said I could show up unannounced because our fridge and couch are yours. They'd made me feel like a passenger no more. So I said, "I'm going to tell them." She clutched her head while my emotions hit a mute switch. That evening, I drove to the Richardses. Emily stayed behind, sitting on the floor, staring at an outlet. Her father answered the door, half joking. "Kid, you never knock. Come in." The kitchen smelled of turkey. They were rehearsing Thanksgiving recipes. I asked for a moment. Using a counselor's trick, 3 facts, I inhaled. Date, names, screenshots. Mr. Richards stayed silent. Mrs. Richards squeezed a lemon half. Juice splattered the tablecloth. The kitchen froze on a single frame. Then the shout exploded. "No way, M could never." I handed over the phone. Tears, a nervous laugh, his fist slamming the counter. The wood shuddered, and so did I. His eyes said, "Son, thank you for the truth." Back home, I found an empty hallway and a note. "Went to a friend's. Please give me time." In a blink, life went quiet again, like a library after closing. 2 days later, her father called. "I came by, took Emily's stuff. Leave the keys under the mat. We'll grab them tomorrow." His voice carried exhausted compassion, like he knew they'd taken not just clothes, but that fragile bud of family they'd once given me. Emily crashed with dorm friends, then landed a job at a highway burger joint. I found out via her stories, goofy faces in a branded hat, caption, "First steps in the real world." Hundreds of likes, no trace of shame, as if our life together had slipped off a parking lot cliff. I wanted to hide, but logistics doesn't tolerate melodrama. Trucks need schedules. Drivers rage call from Nebraska if you miss their ping. Work anchored me to the present. Nights rang with empty picture frames. The ring money, the Mustang fund, props from a play whose stage I'd accidentally wandered onto. Time, though, sands the sharpest edges. After a month, I could drive country roads without pounding the steering wheel. 2 weeks later, I played Emily's favorite song and didn't skip it. Another month, and I laughed at a coworker's joke, an unfiltered sound I thought extinct. Then Christmas arrived. Mrs. Richards texted a 12-item menu plan. Who brings drinks? Who hangs lights? My name sat by cranberry punch and ice. Emily's was absent. I braced for awkwardness, but went, because otherwise their house would feel even emptier. By 8, the smell of cinnamon filled the place. Bluetooth speakers belted vintage carols. Mr. Richards and I were stashing ice bags when a knock came, long, insistent. Emily stood on the porch, flushed cheeks, breath misting in the air, a box of homemade cookies in hand. She stepped forward, confident everything remained unchanged. "Hey, I brought my famous snowballs." Conversation died in the kitchen. Her dad emerged. I heard each syllable. "Honey, I love you, but tonight is family only." She blinked. "But I am family." He whispered, so guests wouldn't overhear. "Tonight you're not." He closed the door, leaving her amid blinking lights. I froze. Someone lowered the music. Her shadow slid across the window, setting the cookie box on a step, brushing snow off her sneakers, climbing into an Uber. No surge of vindictive joy, just the sense of watching end credits from a genre-bent film. After a minute, Mrs. Richards inhaled. Turkey's cooling. Chairs scraped, closing the gap at the table's corner. Later, we cleaned the kitchen. Mr. Richards handed me cocoa, his good job ritual. Same warmth as the day I first crossed their threshold, now laced with loss. We both knew every shared story leaves a scar. The saying, "Time heals," is incomplete. Healing comes from learning to breathe between strikes. I drove home past midnight, tired but calm, realizing pain no longer dictated my schedule. It merely existed like an old finger scar aching in weather changes. Emily's messages kept coming for months. First, long indictments, "You gave up on me." Then plaintive notes, "It's cold at the burger place." Finally, short reminders, "Don't forget to toss the tree." I answered none. Each word threatened to reopen wounds that needed quiet air. Half a year in, I wrote a letter, not to her, to myself. A list of takeaways: the power to say no, even with trembling hands, gratitude to people who call you son minus DNA, and toughest of all, hope that you can love again, knowing how fragile the design is. Cashiers switched to their spring playlist. Somebody cued an old Lumineers track, and I caught myself singing while waiting for bread. Proof I still carried enough light to someday check my phone without dread. Another few months, and I dared to place a period, not a comma. One evening, Josh invited me bowling with his new crew. "Warm up for the corporate tournament, man." The alley smelled of Bavarian dip and lane wax. My first roll knocked only 2 pins, yet the laughter echo felt genuine. Josh introduced me to a shoulder-length brunette named Sarah, headed to med school, freelancing on mobile apps. No firework cliches, just a clear sense of calm. She listened so closely even the pauses mattered. I had no idea where it might lead, only that my shoulders relaxed without needing to prove my worth. Emily still posted stories. In one, she held a pizza box captioned, "Smile or it counts as tip." A mutual friend forwarded it. "Looks like she's doing better." I smiled. No heaviness, just mild nostalgia for who she could have become. Spring finally landed, and I slid behind the wheel of a used Mustang. Dark blue, subtler than the red I once craved, but mercy on the budget. Taking that car felt symbolic. Not a victory shout, a quiet, I'm moving on. One evening at a gas stop I hummed softly. A girl at the next pump laughed while her dog bounded in circles. She turned, caught my eye. He thinks every stop is a park. We laughed for half a minute, then parted, and I realized I was open to the world again, like removing a heavy mitten and feeling the air with bare skin. More than a year passed before Emily knocked on my door. I'd just come home late. Keys clinked in the lock, then that familiar rhythmic knock. She looked thinner, hair in a rushed bun, jacket scented with sour coffee and fryer grease. "Hi," she said. I was nearby and realized it's now or never. I waited. I know I have no right to ask for anything, but thank you for telling my parents. I was furious, thought you blew everything up. But then I saw I did. I spent so long blaming the world, now I think the world just hands us mirrors. Every mirror showed Grayson, my excuses, my fear of being ordinary if I didn't stir up drama. You held the mirror first. She fell quiet, fingers on the handle. I felt a strange calm, closure we both needed. I've forgiven myself, I said at last, and forgiven you too, otherwise I'd carry your mistakes on my shoulders, but that's all I have. She nodded, wiped a tear. I'm not expecting anything, just wanted you to know. I shut the door gently, like closing a book's final page, and heard my own breathing. Steady, confident. Funny how it sounded louder than the knock that started it all. That night I sat with tea and opened a blank document. I wrote the date, first time in ages, not for a report or plan, and typed the opening lines of a new story. Not about betrayal, but about how even a broken heart keeps pumping blood, just more carefully. Sometimes I think love isn't two people, but a three-tier bridge over carelessness. Trust, responsibility, willingness to show up when needed, not when convenient. Emily and I plunged because one pillar rotted and we spotted the cracks too late. I'm building a new bridge, slowly, brick by brick, minus the breathless promises to the moon and back. If one day I'm back in the Richards' living room hearing new nieces laugh, I'll thank them for not dropping their hands even when it hurt. And if I meet Emily in a supermarket, I'll smile and walk on, because the mirror showed us both who we were and who we still could become. In the end, every story is a road, and no one's obliged to ride the same carriage forever once the route fades into mist. I still love switching on the Mustang's headlights at dusk, feeling the engine hum under my palm, as if confirming, living is movement, and the real fear is not falling, but tossing the keys and deciding the road has ended. It hasn't. It just trades asphalt for gravel, city for field, noise for silence. And in that silence you can sometimes hear distant laughter, maybe mine, from a future version where the weight of pain has been refined into fuel.